We are family everywhere, a Dutch family. In 2021, we traded our brick house for a house on wheels, and our hectic life for one with lots of freedom and adventure. We traveled through Europe, we crossed Canada, went all the way to Alaska, and made our way south towards Argentina. At the time this video goes online, we are already in South America. But before we share all these incredible adventures, we go back to our first year in Northern America. Let us take you into our life full of adventure, with highs and lows, but above all, to the most beautiful places in the world.
In the dark, we arrived in Estes Park, Colorado. We slept on the driveway of these friendly Dutch people and woke up this morning with an amazing view. It was only a mile to the entrance of the Rocky Mountain National Park, which we will explore the next few days. Since we are too long for driving the Bear Lake Road, we left our truck at this parking lot and took the shuttle bus instead. Once we got at the start of the hiking trail, we spotted our first wildlife, and it was just the beginning, as we saw lots more in the following days. Then the climb up started, as we were hiking to 3 different lakes. At the first one, Nymph Lake, we took our first break. Then we arrived at the second lake, Dream Lake, and it was pretty busy at the trail, as you can see. At the third lake, Emerald Lake, it started to rain, so it didn't take long before we started our way back. We were back at our truck just before it really started to rain, and while driving out of the park, we got a little surprised by seeing this herd of elks.
Zijn we klaar om te wandelen, jongens?
The next day, we started hiking the same trail, but took a different turn from the second lake. This hike was a bit steeper than the one yesterday, but in terms of view, it was also much spectacular. And after climbing over these big rocks, we finally reached Lake Haiyaha.
Zo groen!
This lake turned into this blue-greenish color only a few months ago, after a big rock slide. Seeing this incredible, beautiful lake was absolutely the highlight of the whole national park. After we got back to our truck, we explored the meadows. We also hoped to see some elks. We did saw them, but from a far distance, and when we got closer, we saw the elks were moving away from us. When we were about to leave the park, we saw in the far distance lots of cars parked, so there must be something to see, was what we thought. And yes, there was a big herd of elks just a few meters away from us. It was so impressive to watch, and it was clearly elk rutting season, that time when male elk are looking to mate with a female. The next day we waved goodbye, not to the park though, as we're now going to explore another part. We are going to drive the Trailway Road, with lots of beautiful views along the way. Of course, we made a hike to the top, although we really felt the difference in altitude. We also love to go to the visitor centers.
Die is hard.
Ja. En van binnen is die hol, hè? Kijk, van binnen is hij een hol.
Die is van hout.
Dat lijkt net van hout, hè?
Then we made our descent to below the tree line and slept for the night on this nice campground inside the national park. The next day we drove the Trailway Road back to make one last hike at the Bear Lake corridor. Since 1 year, the Rocky Mountain National Park works with time entrance slots, with a specific entrance for the Bear Lake Road. We did experience some stress to get the time slot we wanted, and they are very strict since we had to wait because we were 1 hour too early. The last hike we made was around Sprague Lake, a nice situated lake in between the mountains. From the Rocky Mountains we drove south and found a fantastic place in the middle of a forest, where we stayed for a couple of days.
Goed zo. Dat was zwaar, hè? Even hierin, dan mag je daar naar drinken.
Nou, daar zitten we dan. 40 kilometer zuidelijk van het Rocky Mountain National Park. We zitten op een heerlijk plekje. Kampvuur. We hebben net al lekker pompoensoep gemaakt. En er staat een appeltaart te wachten. Want we hebben namelijk wat te vieren. 8 jaar geleden zijn wij namelijk getrouwd. Nou, er is geen andere vent met wie ik hier dit leven zou willen leiden dan hij.
Een lange of een korte ei?
Heb je zin erin? Helaas, de volgende keer iets minder warmte eronder leggen.
Then it was time to move on. Through the early foliage colors we drove to Nederland. And of course we had to take some pictures together with the name sign.
Hallo Nederland!
Nederland!
Unfortunately it was raining, so we only drove through this village. Next up was driving the scenic route to Mount Evans.
helaas, maar de uitzichten zijn even prachtig. Nou, die 930 meter, nou dat klinkt misschien helemaal niet zo spannend, maar voor ons was het best wel een ding. We hadden namelijk in januari te horen gekregen dat onze truck dat misschien wel helemaal niet zou halen in verband met te weinig zuurstof en dat hij dan niet genoeg vermogen zou hebben. Uiteindelijk bleek dat een grote miscommunicatie te zijn. Maar toch was het best wel een dingetje voor ons. Dus we zijn echt super blij dat we gewoon heel vlotjes naar die 3900 meter reden. Dus nou, dat biedt perspectief voor meer. Helaas is het weer niet al te best hierboven.
Want de pand worden.
Unfortunately, the last part of the road to Mount Evans was already closed for the winter. Near Colorado Springs, we visited the Garden of the Gods, where out of nowhere these red mountains overshadowed the surroundings. We first did a scenic drive and tried to get a parking spot at this busy and touristy spot. It was a lovely park, but a little too touristy for our taste. We drove about 250 kilometers south and found a nice camping place in the middle of nowhere, where Ton and Chantal, a Dutch couple which we already know from the Netherlands, joined us. The next day we followed them to the Great Sand Dunes National Park. It's such a strange sight to see these dunes in these totally different surroundings. And just when we thought we had reached the top, we saw we didn't. So Pascal continued on his own, while the girls and I sat down.
Kijk hem eens gaan. Zie je hem gaan? Oeh, daar viel hij. Nu glijdt hij op zijn billen.
And now it is our turn. I don't think I have to tell you how much fun we had in those dunes. On our way to the Mesa Verde National Park, we crossed the Continental Divide. And when you are at a point like this, it's always good to refresh your memories about this process.
Waar wij nu zijn, is een enorme bergketen ontstaan. Door de platen die zo tegen elkaar aanbotsten en zo. We zijn nu op weg naar het Mesa Verde National Park. We hebben de afgelopen nacht op een heel fijn plekje gestaan. Echt super fijn. Nu hier wat meer in het zuiden, veel meer BLM-land. Dus eigenlijk land waar je dus gewoon mag kamperen. Prachtige plekjes vaak, dus dat is echt super tof.
Een stukje vanaf staan om stenen te maken, om een huis te bouwen.
We zijn nu bij het Mesa Verde National Park. We hebben onze eerste cliffdwelling net bekeken hebben. En dat is eigenlijk een huisgebouw waar heel vroeger de Indianen dat zo gebouwd hebben. Onder een overhangende rots. Heel slim, beschermd tegen weer en wind. En best bijzonder om te zien ook eigenlijk.
The ancestral Puebloan people called these cliff dwellings home for over 700 years, from the year 600 to 1300 after Christ.
Moeten hebben, die hebben we niet.
At the end of the day, we made a last hike along some amazing viewpoints and the most hidden cliff dwelling of the park.
Nou, we hebben een hele toffe dag in het park gehad. Toch wel heel bijzonder om dit allemaal te zien. We hebben op veel punten gestopt, korte wandeling gemaakt. De kinderen die hadden niet zo'n heel erge wandeldag vandaag. We hadden een beetje te lang bij het vuur gezeten gisteravond. Nee, nou ik weet wel zeker dat het veel te laat was met naar bed gaan. Maar goed, we hebben ze dus flink moeten draaien en een beetje moeten meeleuren.
Ja.
En de wandeling die we dus nu net gedaan hebben, die wilden we dus eigenlijk overslaan. Ik ben blij dat we dat toch niet gedaan hadden. Want dat was echt wel een hele toffe wandeling. Hele mooie uitzichten. En de kids gingen natuurlijk als een speer nu.
After a great day in the park, we arrived just after sunset on our overnight spot. The next morning we made our way to the mountains, where the foliage colors are about to peak. We will show you everything in the next video.
Thank you for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please give us a thumbs up, and we would love to hear from you in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to not miss any of our adventures. See you next time.